Happiness economics. The quantitative and theoretical study of happiness is known as the economics of happiness or happiness economics. This involves the positive and negative effect, well being, quality of life, satisfaction of life, and other related concepts, and combining this with economics as well as psychology and sociology. It treats measures which are related to happiness as things to be maximized. This field does not consider ideas such as wealth, income, or profit. The field developed and grew in the late 20th century as a result of development of the differing methods which were used to measure happiness and other related concepts. These measures included both surveys and indices. The findings in this field have been described as being a challenge for economics as a profession. Happiness is subjective and hence it is very challenging and difficult to compare one person's sense of happiness to another's. It's even more difficult to compare happiness across different cultures. Many happiness economists do believe, however, that a solution to this problem in comparison has been found. Accordingly, cross sections of large data samples across nations and time have shown to demonstrate consistent patterns in what determines happiness. Happiness is typically measured by using subjective measures such as surveys as well as more objective systems of measurement. A big concern is the accuracy and reliability of a person's response to these surveys. Objective measures look at lifespan, income, and education, and these are generally used as well or instead of subjective methods. These, however, do assume that these aspects generally produce happiness. The other side of the coin is that these may seem possible, they may not necessarily be the case for each person. The terms equality of life or well being are move often used because they better encompass these more objective measures. There is some claim by scientists that happiness can be measured both subjectively and objectively by observing the joy center of the brain. This is done by looking at this area of the brain and seeing how well lit up it is by using advanced imaging technology. This does raise some philosophical issues, such as whether this can be a more reliable sign that what is subjectively reported. These are equations used to measure microeconomic happiness, and these equations have a standard form. The equation takes in and considers the relationship between the following information, such as the reported well being of the individual, the time in which test is given, time in life, as well as a vector of known vectors that include both socio-demographic and socio-economic characteristics to determine level of happiness. These are several determinants for happiness economics. The first two are the national financial measures, which include the GDP and GNP. These have been used as measures of successful policies. Studies have shown that there is a significant association between GDP and happiness. This has been found particularly true in wealthier nations as the citizens of these countries report being happier than those in poor ones. One argument states that this relationship only extends to an average 15,000 per capita of the GDP. This conclusion and others related are viewed as being controversial, and this is due to the fact that some economists have disputed the accuracy of these findings. This is based on the finding of a logarithmic correction between GDP per capita and self reported happiness without extending any boundaries. It's also noted that since life expectancy is increasing in wealthier nations, which could be attributed partly to economic growth, number of happy life years has increased. Economists have often stated that well-being is a simple function of income. On the other hand, it has been shown that once someone reaches a subsistence level, the effectiveness of income as a means to happiness is greatly diminished. This is referred to as the Easterlin paradox. Given the paradox, happiness economists seek to change the way governments view well being. In 2010, a study was done by happiness economists Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton. They found that people who earned high incomes reported better satisfaction in life. Conversely, they also found that a person's day to day emotional well being only rose with earnings until they met a threshold of $75,000 per annum. Another study by Greg Easterbrook found that people were still as happy as they were back in the 1950s, even though wealth or economic surplus is more common today than it was back then. According to polls by the National Opinion Research Center, one third of Americans stated that they were really happy in 1950. Since then, polls have been taken periodically and the results have continued to remain relatively the same as when first given. Of course, other factors have been suggested as to what makes people happier as opposed to money. It's been found that a short course of therapy from a qualified psychologist or mental health professional is more cost effective at increasing happiness than increase in a person's income.